Hello and welcome back to the home of Urban Frog Tackle. A bit of a change around with the display for this one. So we're in front of the table, the display table. As you can see, we've got the dried lines still in place, still all curly, the fluorocarbon lines, loads of memory in curling those, and still about 6 hours into it, we've got the lines that were soaked for a minimum of 12 hours, still pretty limp, still looking amazing. And what we're going to do today, we're going to go on to the next short film, and that short film is going to be on the REEL RAPZ use. Where are we going here? On the REEL RAPZ use number 2. So that's our debut product, the REEL RAPZ. Hopefully you've seen the other short films that we've brought out so far. If not, you can go back and look at those. But what we're talking about is use number 2 there on the back of the wrap. So all the information's there for you at hand when you purchase this, but also it's all on our website, on our e-commerce site. So it's number 2, line installation, line cleaning, line lubricating, so many more variants on what you can do with this wrap. With keeping it clean, but cleaning your line, getting detritus off your line. Instead of spraying, some people put like lubricants on to sink certain times of the year. When you want to get through that surface water, they spray lubricants over the spool rather than spraying it all over your hands and the spool. I wouldn't want washing up liquid all over my hands when I'm fishing and touching bait and stuff. So you can put some of that onto this wrap, so as you're reeling in, it will fully coat everything as it's going on. What we've also found is with the REEL RAPZ, it puts constant pressure on. It's easy to use. The reason behind the design of this, as well as the design of all the other uses within the REEL RAPZ, was it was parts of my fishing that I found frustrating as hell. So for me, the understanding of filling 3 spools of line up become very arduous and not something I look forward to doing. Now, it's a breeze. I can put on 3 spools of line from tying onto the spool, checking the line lay, getting the wraps attached and reeling on. I can reel on 3 spools of line in under 5 minutes, possibly even under 2.5 minutes. It's very easy, it's ergonomic, it's easy to use. I'll show you how we set up the REEL RAPZ for installing line and its benefits against not using it. So without further ado, I'll just show you a rod that we've got. One of the lines we've had on display, so we've got the Ridge Monkey fluorocast soaking in there, and that is going to be which we've started to do. It's going to be going onto the reel. So as you can see now, it's still in pretty good condition, although it's been out of the water. It's not been soaked for over 6 hours. What I find is it may take 12 hours minimum to get the water into the line, but once it's in, it takes a long time for it to come out. So we all soak our spools, well, generally most of us do nowadays. So for argument's sake, called a touchdown, that's been in there soaking for 12, 24 hours. That's fully saturated. As you can see, it's coming off nice. Hopefully you can see that. It's coming off nice and limp. And there's various ways of the line coming off this spool. And what we've found over, I would say, 3 years of field testing is that there are products out there, and we're not here to rip holes in other people's products or people's statements like install line like a pro, or you know you are, but that type of understanding. And there's going to be guys out there, guys and girls out there installing line that are going to be looking at that and thinking that's the way forward, and that can leave you down a bit of a rabbit hole really. So I'm just going to let you know what I found and the 3 years of me installing all of these different types of lines and other lines as well, braids, and how I've got the best out of them. So when you generally, there's products out there, like I say, a bucket with a pin through, an old fashioned way really of line coming off vertically like that. So the line's coming off and the reel spinning. I tend to find, sometimes it works, I tend to find 9 times out of 10 that puts more twist in the line. So it can come off that way, it can come off that way. So it can either come off from below or it can come off from above. So two different ways really can come off there. It can come off the back of the spool, which is problematic because generally nowadays spools will have like a line clip, which is a pain, or it can come off the front, which generally with the label, let's get the label up the right way for Calder. So generally with the label being at the front, that's how I've found over the last 3 years of field testing and installing line using these wraps, is that when it comes off the front like that, it's generally, as you can see there, it's generally coming off in its best condition. Generally, 9 times out of 10. There is the odd time when I have to change the position, and sometimes as well through putting line on. So I might put on 50 yards and then the next 50 yards is a bit more problematic. I don't know if it's how they install the line onto the spools, but it's very, very difficult to maintain a twist-free line. But soaking it, we all tend to buy into soaking our line for going onto our reels, and I think we do that because it expands the line, it gets it to its biggest, although you, even with a micrometer, you can't really tell how much it's expanded. And a spool of line, a rule of thumb for me, a spool of line is going to expand anywhere, say on average around 10 grams. So over 200 yards or 175 yards that I put on, that's a minimal amount, but it's enough to make this super limp and as heavy as fluorocarbon, or heavier with certain lines. So yeah, so I find it best soaked in a bucket and coming off face forward. So that's how we're going to show you today doing that. So we'll get the rod. So as you can see, line's coming under the bail arm, it's going through the first eye, and we've got not bad line lay at the moment. So we then get the wrap. Not going to go into too much detail about the wrap, other than I tend to, you can see here that the retention strap is coming off, and I'm setting it that way forward, so it stops the wrap being reeled towards the reel. And the inner bamboo toweling is put more to the front. Now that's soaked, that's wet, you're going to want that. It just helps lubricate the line. It's already soaked, but it helps lubricating the line going through, and some of the other reasonings between it being wet we're going to go through as well in a little bit. So what we do is, as you just saw me there, you're just going to get the wrap. I'll put the line out in front of me so you can see that there. We're just going to bend over a section of the toweling. So we'll lay the line inside, and we'll just lightly pinch that. So you can see the lines coming through there. We'll just lightly pinch that in place. I've actually gone, excuse me, gonna come back with an old-fashioned word. I've got in a bit of a 2 and 8 there. So we're going to get the line there. We're going to pinch it in place, just like that. So we've got the line going through the toweling section. We're going to put that against the blank of the rod. So what I tend to do is put it as close to the eye as possible. Because the rod's tapered, it allows you, if you want to put a bit more pressure on, to slide it down the rod, and it gives a natural bit more tension onto the wrap. So all I'm going to do now is just wrap the wrap, bit of a tongue twister, wrap the wrap around the rod like so, and we've got the Velcro receptive fastener where it's just going to lock in place. So as you can see there, and as you can see on the images behind us, we've got the same thing, the line going through the eye and going through the wrap and being held in place. So that's what we've got. You can see that there with the line coming through. Now with a retention strap, we just want that going around that first eye to lock that in place. So we'll bring it over and bring that retention strap down. It's Velcro male fastener there that's just under that first silicone label, and we'll just pull that down in place. So that is now being held, a light bit of tension, and as you can see there, the line's coming through. Now what we do is, at Urban Frog Tackle, we check this, which we call the bowstring. So when we're reeling line on, and putting line on like this, what we'll tend to do is, we'll pull this line out and we'll check that line lay, and we'll say, I very much doubt we're going to get this for installing the rest of the line. It's pretty amazing. But we'll check that and we'll say, if your line is going on like that, hallelujah, it's amazing. But it's not always the case. You want the best you can get. So what we do is, when I'm putting on my line, after I've tied my knot, I tend to line my reel handle up with the leg of the reel. And when I'm starting off, I then do like 1 turn, 2 turns, and count those turns. And generally when I'm spooling up my line, I'll put on 200 turns of line. And what that will give me with a Bezier, with the amount of retrieve per 1 rotation, that will give me around 176 yards. And that's what I do with all of my reels. I put on 176 yards of everything, so I can check the weight, check how straight they are, and yeah, get the most out of my line. Use as much of it as possible. There's no point for me putting on 300-400 yards of line and I'm only ever using 150 yards of it, if that. So some people take their line off and put it back on the other way, just adding more twist and more problems to it. So that's the bowstring that we're checking. So what we'll then do is, we'll then just go once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. That's my lucky number. And I can see really that the line coming off the spool there's a bit of curl in that. So we'll just check the bowstring, and I'm over the moon with that. If you can get your line looking that good with constant pressure from the REEL RAPZ, that's what you want, constant pressure. You want it ergonomic use. So what that is that it's easy to do. You're not straining, you're not reaching. So I'm doing the old-fashioned version of like having the butt of the reel between my legs. I'm holding a rag up here, and then I'm trying to do this one-handed, which is a god-awful way of putting line on. A lot of people do it. Or having a sponge or whatever shoved up there, and it's slipping and pulling the sponge through, or it's breaking down. If you're putting braid through, it's breaking down the sponge and you're getting that all over your line. That's the last thing you want. So like this, I know that's going on really well. And then what I'll do then, I'll just keep winding that line on. So another 2 revolutions, 10 turns, check the line lay. The line lay is amazing, it's stunning. So I can then, with full confidence, reel on 176 yards of line. What I tend to do is I'll do half of it, check it again, and then do the final half. But like that, that's it, it's perfect. Really easy to install. Your line's going to go on correctly. You check your bowstring, you're happy that it's going on well, and then you can reel on. Ergonomic, easy to do. If you struggle, if you've got mobility issues, or you struggle with your joints or a bad back, you can do this really easy. And you can put this on in a couple of minutes. This spool's done from tying the knot, doing this, soaking it, putting it on, a couple of minutes, it's done. Then all I do is take this spool off, put the next spool on, pass the line through, use the same rod and reel on the next spool of line. Take that spool off, put the next spool on, tie the knot, bring the line through, reel on the next lot. So I generally do it all on one rod, it's done. So that's putting line on, and for me, that's a godsend, and that's use 2. So that's what we've shown you so far is the first 4 uses. But it does a lot more than that. So we've got another rod here, and we've got braid on this one. I use this for like a marker rod and a spawn rod and stuff like that. But we've got braid on there. But a lot of people fish with braid, and a lot of people said to me, oh, you keep talking about mono or whatever, but braid takes a lot of soaking. So with the REEL RAPZ, soak this the night before you go in. It'll increase in weight by possibly up to 85% in weight, generally 45% and upwards. You really need to get the water in between the weaves of this braid, and all braids are pretty much the same. They've got air in them, it's getting that out. By pulling the water around with the REEL RAPZ and soaking that moisture into the braid, it gets the moisture right into it, gets all that air out, and it allows your line or your braid to sink as well as it's ever going to sink. But then you've got the issue of reeling in. When I'm reeling in this time of the year, you've got a lot of crap on the bottom, dying, coming up, getting stuck. Even if you fish with fluorocarbon, you're adamant you ain't changing, you want to do that. You have a lot of problems with twists with fluorocarbon and crap sticking to it. Put your reel wraps on the same way as we did it before, put it in, and then you just want to reel your line in. So you're out fishing, you're fishing at 100 yards, you're now going to reel your line in. You're going to clean all the crap off your braid, all of that detritus, you're going to clean that all off your mono. So all you do is you just reel that in. You just reel that in as you normally would do. But what I'd say is, every time you do that again, where we just encapsulated the braid or the line and we sandwiched it, I've just moved that position. The inner toweling section is wet, so it's great, it's cleaning it off, but you'll have a lot of crap in that one area and it'll pull it all off. And what that also does is, as you're reeling in, it will actually get rid of your line twist as well. Not 100%, but it helps, it does a lot. It straightens your line out, it gets rid of that line twist, and it cleans your line. So if you want to, when you're reeling in, you can put some lubricant on there. If you've got problems with your line cutting through the surface, it's got a lot of surface scum, you can do that. So instead of spraying the reel, getting it all over the reel in your hands, you can just drip some on the bamboo toweling. So as you're reeling in, same thing, it's putting an even layer. So what we're talking about the REEL RAPZ is a consistent pressure. It can clean, it can put your line on, and it's a great tool. There you go, that's use 2 of the 5 uses of the REEL RAPZ. I hope you found that information useful, and it's something that can help you in your fishing, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. So the REEL RAPZ, Urban Frog Tackle, see you soon, bye bye.